things are true. And this is what we're going to get at too. People think, oh, religious people are stupid. But actually, now I think, whoa, religious people are intuiting something. They're feeling something that actually is true. I didn't know this before, but it is true. Some people have this innate ability to feel, to sense what is true. So this is the NFs. But like I said, they tend to be racist. They're more conservative. Let's think what else about them. They tend to be very good with language, but it's funny because they don't like thought. So I know, like my grandpa says, the sentiment, if you hear something good, he says, the sentiment it instills is greater than the thought it provokes. I think he's quoting something. But it shows they don't like thoughts, and they're always saying things like, things can never be known fully. They say, like, we can only just touch on things. We can't really know things. And they always don't like knowledge. And they also always don't like sex. They're always very much against sex and stuff. Very conservative force. Part of it has to do with, remember I told you about how the third quadrant, there was thinking, and they're the first quadrant. Well, thinking has to do with words. And what's fascinating is NFs hate SPs. NFs hate SPs. They can't stand them. I've known NFs who know SPs, and they just cannot get along. And people say that the same thing with NTs and SJs. Me, I can get along really well with everybody, I think. But some of my best friends are SJs. But we'll continue. All right. So we have this is the first quadrant. They sense things, it's mental. They're very mental, very smart, intuitive. Okay. Then we have the second quadrant, the SJs. They tend to be the very religious too. My grandpa, let me go back to NFs. They love to keep things clean. My grandpa's always like, I'm out feeding the sheep or feeding the donkeys. They always like to clean things. Women tend to more be first quadrants. So quote unquote, everything's based on individuals, but this is where the stereotype comes from. Most women a higher majority of women are NFs or Fs, period. And what do Fs like? Fs like to clean. Fs like to make order. A lot of my NF friends, they're very into like nutrition. They're the types of guys who are going out and they're getting like the incense stuff, and they're getting the special organic foods, and they're really into all this stuff. They love this stuff. NFs, they just love all that type of stuff. They're the ones who are vegetarians because they're feeling and they sense and perceive, and they have all these, Yeah, this is an NF. So you guys get what type of people I'm talking about, right? Yeah. But they also look at, they're kind of hypocritical, but they're very smart, but they're kind of hypocritical. So I know NFs will be like, yes, everything is one. Everything is oneness. But then you tell them, okay, well, I don't, or you tell them, I don't think you're right. I don't think that everything is one. And then they'll say, no, you're wrong. And then they'll look at you as an outsider. But just in so doing, they're making you an outsider, and they're making things not one. You see what I'm getting at? I don't know, but this is just what I kind of get at with when I talk to NS. But they can be they're extremely smart, and they have such amazing ideas, but they also can be very illogical. Like I said about the people who make sense, they make sense of things, but they'll talk about, I've never met an NF who doesn't believe in aliens. Not saying that aliens is wrong, but actually every alien, UFO, everything has been just to reveal the form. But we'll get to that more hopefully later. But I've never met one that doesn't believe in aliens. And NFs always say stuff like, we're so small, and the world is just so magnificently large, and we're just a tiny part of it. And, they kind of look down upon themselves. But like I said, or I didn't say this, but really the NTs and the SPs are the guys who are more confident. Okay, now we'll move to SJs. So SJs are more organization, and they're very organized, and they have this faith. And like I said, I'm going to get to it. These guys know Christianity is true, Hinduism is true, Buddhism is true, Islam is true. They can sense this stuff, and they hold on to it. And it's very important that there is such thing as an SJ, because otherwise this stuff would have been thrown to the side. SJs, they hold on to things and maintain order. Let me think more about SJs. A lot of my best friends are SJs. My parents are SJs. But they really listen to authority. So if an authority figure tells them that something should be a certain way, then they listen to it and they follow that, like right off the bat. They're really into that. But that's fine, because really the authority figures they pretty much know what they're talking about in a lot of cases. NFs, they also listen to authority a lot, because like I said, they're conservative and they're feelers. But the difference with them is they also are into, like, they'll be like, yeah, I don't know about the doctor. I want the shaman instead, who has that, organic type of stuff. They're really into that type of stuff. Okay. And then they end up getting killed a lot of times because of that. Okay, then we have nothing really matters in the end. Then we have really nothing matters. Then we have the SPs, who are the artisans, and artisans really they like to have power, and they tend to be better athletes. They're sensory, so they're aware of their environment. Actually, I always felt like when I was younger, I was a better athlete than the SPs because I wasn't aware of my body. So I would be like moving just, if you would have seen like the way I was moving, it was clear I wasn't aware of my body, but it was more flowing oriented. SPs are more, they know what they're doing, but at the same time they're spontaneous. They have the P part of them. So they can be better athletes, and they don't care. They don't give a crap what you think sometimes. But like I want to get to this, though. Not every SP is the same. So an ISFP is going to care more about what people think of him because he's a feeler. An ISTP, like Michael Jordan, is, he's a thinker. So I only care about what works. I don't care about what other people think of me. He's more, he's caring less, even less. But in general, SPs, they're like, man, they're more spontaneous. They're out to have fun. They don't care about what people think about them so much. They're fun to be around. Okay. Then we have NTs. I don't want to get into NTs too much, but I'm an INTP. NTs come up with, quote unquote, let's just say NTs come up with big theories and stuff. But it's difficult to be an NT sometimes because, yeah, it can be difficult. All right, and
maybe you want to create a part 2 because I don't want to rush you through it.
Yeah, but okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay, but let me say this then. The NFs, they're very imaginative, but the NTs put together all this imagination. Like Richard Feynman, who was an ENTP, he put together everything. He says that. Like people would go up to him and they'd be like, well, what do you think about anti-gravity machines and stuff? Usually NFs probably. And then he says that he has a good imagination, but he keeps it within a straitjacket. He's contemplative. Contemplative people more put things together which are true. He's not thinking like, okay, let's make sense of the aliens coming and then possibly there was a other planet, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, they're putting things together more in a way that they synthesize everything. Einstein had his 4 papers that with general relativity. Throughout history, NTs are like that. They put together things, but at the same time, it can be difficult. They don't listen to authority figures. They don't. If somebody has a badge, they don't give a crap. They try to find things out for themselves. So can we continue more hopefully later? Okay, well, let me do one more thing. So just to make you guys think, okay, this is pretty cool. Let's look at the planets in the solar system. So what do we have? We have Mercury, Venus, Jupiter. Oh, what the heck? Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. Okay? Mercury's a little tiny guy. First quadrant, always very tiny. And he's kind of like going wild around there, around the sun. Safe in his, near his sun. But he's kind of weird. The first quadrant's always weird. I forgot to say, people always think NS are really weird. People think NTs are weird too, but NTs can also be cool. Venus is more pretty. It has it actually has a sulfuric acid environment, but it looks really pretty. Venus is the name of a god, a female goddess, I'll say. But second quadrant is always more pretty. Earth has life on it. It's doing things, and people say Earth is evil because it has all this life and look at all the wars and blah blah blah. But everything in the end reveals the form, even every war, every single thing. Then you have Mars, which is kind of like the desolate planet. Nothing's there. But interestingly, people think that life from Earth came from Mars. This is one theory. But at this point, there's nothing there. So once again, like the fourth quadrant, it seems kind of desolate. Okay. Then we have an asteroid belt. There's no coincidence that there's an asteroid belt there because now we're moving on to the next quadrant. People say, why is there an asteroid belt? Maybe there was a planets that collided and blah, blah, blah. No, it's just to reveal the form. All right, then we have Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. So now we have the gas planets. Jupiter, people used to look at this as like the god planet, the fifth, and now we move to the fifth, but this is the fifth. This is starting up a second quadrant. So Jupiter, pretty, it has a ring around it. The second quadrant's always pretty, okay? Saturn has really nice rings around it. Even the rings fit the form. Jupiter has the four, what are they called? Galilean moons. It had an asteroid that hit it that broke into 16 pieces. Then you have Saturn, it has really pretty rings, so the second quadrant has to be really beautiful. Then you have Uranus, it has a ring too, or it has rings, I don't know how many, but whatever. But it also has a little bit of a core. So we're in the third quadrant of the second quadrant. Now we're getting a little bit solid. And then Neptune has a bigger core, but it's also a gas planet, and it also has a ring, so it's still pretty. Then we have the comet belt, or we have comets. We move to a new quadrant. We have Pluto. Pluto is the SP. The SP say, screw what everyone else is doing. I'm going to do my own thing. So while every other planet is in orbit, in alignment, Pluto broke out of this and it's going in a different orbital. So it's an own individual. It's a thinker. We have thinking now. He's a thinker. the first quadrant of the third quadrant. Then we have, I forget the name of the other ones, but then we have one right here and one right here, and they get more and more wild. But you see, everything is just to reveal the pattern or the form type of thing.
Sweet.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
Is that it for now?